So I said that there was only 2 unders that I wanted, and that's not fully true. I'm interested in another under right here with Rams Colts. And I don't know if I'm going to get to the window here in Rams Colts, but the reason why is because the Rams I want unders with teams that can get first downs but can't succeed in the red zone. So let's go. 1 p.m. Eastern, Los Angeles Rams 1-2, 1-1 on the road at the Indianapolis Colts, 2-1, 0-1 at home. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's get into the line history to get started here for this one. The Colts they've quickly become my favorite team. And look, I hate Irsay as much as everybody else, and obviously the 49ers are my team, but having the over 6.5, watching them play, cashing with them against the Ravens, I'm on board. But the Rams and the Cardinals were supposed to be the 2 worst teams in the league, and they're, I almost said good. I mean, they're quality football teams.
Yeah.
And just one thing that I do is just because I cash on something, I know that my bias is in play and that I'm going to want to go back, that my subconscious is going to want to go back to the well. And I try hard not to. I try really hard not to. But there has been a move towards the Colts -1 at -101 to -1 at -114. We'll probably get a better idea if we go to the money line. So let's do that. On the money line here, sorry, I'm going to have to refresh this. Got to switch over to money line. Let's take a second. Get over to the money line for this Colts Rams spot. You also have the Rams on that second road game. It's not easy. We know that, a lot of the reason why I hesitate to, fade the Packers is I like the fact that, they have 2 weeks in a row at home. It's tough to be on the road, extended times or extended periods. This is a 14-cent move to the Colts from -108 to -122. It got up to -124. There's been a couple cents of buyback. Let's get over to the total for this one. And we have, here we go. We have it's sitting at basically it's kind of all over the map, but it's clear that it's climbing. This opened up at 45. It got to 46. So it opened up this morning at 9:30 at 45. Then it gets to 46 3 hours later. And then an hour and 15 minutes after that, there's a 14-cent move to the over 46 -120. So obviously, I'm not going to sit here and get in the way of that. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this is all wrong. I'm going to bet the under at this point. But Skydragon says, yeah. He says 46.5. He says, oh, yeah, Jimmy, bet that under. It will be amongst my best bets. Skydragon was the integral piece of me being on the Colts Ravens under. I'd been sitting with it, and I wanted it. I knew I wanted it. And he was so bullish on it that I moved on it. And here he is again. And, that's important. That's very important for me to see that. Al Cervix says, is Richardson playing? That's the $1 million question. We'll get into that at this point. But, right now, week 2 of concussion protocol, I have no idea. I tried to look things up, but I can't begin to give. I don't know. But we know that he's not lost his starting spot, but we also know that he's young. And what do young guys do? They get worried when they see somebody performing in their job. Birdie says Colts money line here for him. Says Rams went back to LA, traveling again on a short week, and an issue at left tackle. That Rams left tackle is out, and that's Noteboom is in big trouble. Replacement numbers at left tackle are bad. Noteboom is such a big piece to Joe Noteboom, and they also have Alaric Jackson with a thigh injury, but Joe Noteboom is such a big piece to this offensive line. Let's get into it here, but let's take a look at the cash. So we've seen the movement to the over and the slight movement to the Colts. So let's see what we're going to get here when we take a look at this. We have 73% of the tickets and 70% of the cash is on the Rams, and it's moving to the Colts. Well, that appeals to me immediately. 40% of the tickets and 40% of cash on the under. It's moving to the over. That makes me nervous. Slatsy says, remember what your subconscious is. Yes. And for those of you who don't know that, I was taught at an early age that your subconscious is an asshole. It's going to say negative things. It's going to put you in bad situations. So, yes, Yes, all of our subconscious are assholes. Rams are on a short week after their 1916 loss at Cincy. You just heard from Birdie that they're traveling back home and then going back to Indy. They're clearly better than what people expected in the offseason. Stafford continues to get the most of his young skill players. Look at Troy betting on his yards over against the secondary that's decent with the Bengals. 18 of 33 for 269 yards, 1 TD and 2 interceptions. Puka Nacua continued a strong start. Now, it wasn't ridiculous. It's not 25 catches in his first 2 games, but 5 catches for 72 yards. Higbee caught 5 for 71. Atwell caught 4 for 50 and a touchdown. They couldn't get the job done when it mattered most. 1 of 11 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. The question is, can I trust those numbers? And I believe that I can. That Puka and Tutu are both receivers that are smaller, skilled receivers. And, they're not, those red zone threats. Are they that much bigger than the defensive backs they're going up against? Answer is no. So the lack of success on third downs means they can't keep their offense on the field. 24 minutes of possession. The defense was strong. They only allowed the Bengals to enter the red zone once. They held Cincy to 1 of 11 on third down. Aaron Donald looks as good as ever, despite being 32 years of age. 7 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. As a group, they finished with 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. And Akilo Weatherspoon had an interception. We talked about Noteboom and Alaric Jackson, 2 linemen hurt right now. Colts coming off that big 22-19 overtime win at Baltimore. Is this the spot that I want to back them? No, I don't. I think it's selling or buying high, and I don't want that. But hard for me to say that out loud because I do want that. Matt, not the situation, but I want the football team. Matt Gay was the star of the show. Troy already talked about it when we talked about the Ravens game. 4 field goals of over 50 yards, first kicker in NFL history to do that. Minshew replaced Anthony Richardson, 27 to 44, 227 yards, 1 touchdown. Zach Moss, that's the best game I've ever seen him play, and I watched him a lot in Buffalo. I mean, he was just magic. 30 carries for 122 yards, caught 2 passes for 23 yards, 1 touchdown. Taylor, who? I don't get Taylor. Fuck that. Michael Pittman caught 9 passes for 77 yards. Josh Downs, 3rd-round pick out of North Carolina, caught 8 passes for 57 yards. Zaire Franklin was all over the field. There's already pieces to this defense that I really like, but Zaire Franklin, 15 tackles, 1 sack. They finished with 4 sacks, held the Ravens to 6 of 16 on third down, only 2 entries into the red zone. Now the Ravens did cash both of them. Take it away for us here. This is a game I'm itching. Take it away.
Oh, this is another tough game, but I my instinct tells me to look towards the Rams to bounce back after a loss where they could have easily won. And you got the Colts coming off a win outright as 8-point dogs. I mean, this is clear cut. I mean, this is right off the bat. I'm looking towards the Rams, but then the market environment got me off that real quick as all the bets, all the cash is on this Rams team and the line's moving towards the Colts. But at the same time, you look at some of those trends where dogs flip the favorites, and that's what has done at some books, and that doesn't turn out good for the market move, right? So that would be suggesting back the Rams. It's just so hard for me, especially without knowing who's playing quarterback for the Colts, Minshew or Richardson. I think after watching that Colts game, I'd rather have Richardson at quarterback. This Colts defense has been the biggest surprise to me. Run defense ranks 9th in the NFL per PFF, of course. Pass rush 8th in the NFL, but the coverage is 26th. And that's surprising to me because usually when you're getting pass rush, you got that higher grades of pass rush. You see a lot of correlation where most teams with a good pass rush have good coverage because those two work in tandem. However, that's not the case here. I mean, it's a lot easier to cover for 2.5 seconds than it is to cover for 3 seconds. So I think the Colts defensive backfield, the secondary, is probably their weakest link on their team. So maybe that's what I was thinking the Rams would be able to exploit. But after looking into it and seeing some of the Rams' advanced metrics and some of their advanced player grades, I can't do it. This defense, I think it's only a matter of a time before they get exposed with how good they've performed and how competitive they were through 3 weeks. To have a run defense that's rated 27th, pass rush 20th, coverage 32nd. Maybe that speaks volumes to coaching. I'm not sure what that tells me, that they were able to keep these games so competitive. but we've seen that Stafford getting sacked 6 times. And was he only sacked 1 time in the first 2 weeks? That's what I have on my note sheet. That just seems wrong. But yeah, if he's only sacked 1 time in the first 2 weeks, and then sacked 6 times versus the Bengals, I just think that there's regression for this team, for this offensive line, for this defense. I don't know how they can keep these games close. And now that we're talking it out, I'm leaning towards the Colts.
I want the Colts. I guess I needed just to talk it out so that I could be comfortable with it. I immediately wanted the under, and it moved to the over, and that scared me. Now that DG's on it, I'm going to take a closer look at it. I'm with it being pushed to the over right now. I don't feel like I'm forced to move on it at this point. But I want to not know who's at quarterback for the Colts because McVay is an elite coach. And I want him to have to come up with 2 defenses badly. And I hated that Steichen announced that Richardson was out. Now, it didn't really hurt them, the Colts, but McVay is very good, and it would help me if he has to prepare for both of them because they're so different from each other.
Yeah, it's a complete different game plan. You can't prepare for 2 different quarterbacks like this. It's completely different, like you said. And if you look at their spray charts, you'll even tell on their spray charts how different they are as quarterbacks.
Caleb says we're 1 hit away from Stetson Bennett. I don't believe that's the case. I think he hit the booze. Didn't he? I think he's taken a little leave of absence, I believe. I remember, maybe I was hammered when I read it, but I have a recollection of thinking that he's taking a leave of absence. Okay. So Rams, Colts. I want the Colts. And Birdie's saying if no Boom's out, he's going to be on the Colts 100%. And I'm that he says, did the Rams travel back and forth? Birdie's saying that they did, and so is Gerald Jones. So, yes. The under is still appealing to me, but I'm going to wait on that. Okay. Okay, my man. All right. And then Birdie says Shaq Leonard makes such a huge difference. Look, I'm waiting for him to not be there, and I think we need to take advantage of him being there because we know his back injury is real. Okay, let's move on.